Hey, old man, give me everything.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me.
We can all agree that traveling is amazing. There's the excitement of exploring new places, experiencing unique cultures, and trying delicious food. But one important consideration is how to stay safe while traveling. There are some easy on the spot strategies, but there are some others that require a little bit of preparation. If you're looking for some guidance, you're in luck because I've put together 35 travel safety tips so that you can travel confidently on your next trip. Everything will be linked down in the description, including timestamps so you can jump around and find what you need. I also have something called the Ultimate Gear List. This is a list of everything that I use, all the products that I recommend, and I have a bunch of different options for security that I'll cover today. If you haven't seen it already, this video will be a great follow-up to my Ultimate Packing Guide. And I touched a little bit on security in that one, but I'm going to go a lot more in depth today. Also, be sure to hang out until the end because I have a challenge for you. And this will not only help you in your travels, but it will also help you in everyday life. Let's get into it. My first tip is to trust your gut. You could also say trust your instinct or trust your intuition. But this is my number one tip. If you forget everything else, just remember this one. Trust your gut. Confidence is key. Look confident, act confident, be confident, make eye contact. Of course, always smile and be friendly. But I'll give the example of when I was in Rome recently. I saw a couple guys, they were super sketchy. This was at the main train station in Rome. And they were looking down and they were eyeing people's bags. And it was so obvious to me that they were looking to pickpocket. And one of them looked at me and I looked back at him. And I gave him this look like, I'm not the guy you want to mess with. And he very sheepishly skirted away. Confidence is key. If I had to recommend one piece of gear that you carry for self-defense, I would recommend using a small, durable flashlight that has a strobe function. The reason you want to use the strobe function is because if someone comes up to you, especially at night, you can just flash this in their eyes and disorient them and then run away. I like this one because you can recharge it with a USB cord and it's really lightweight, and you can also use it for other purposes too. Another piece of gear that I would recommend is a whistle. On my backpack, on the chest strap, I actually have a little whistle, but you could also carry something. Like the one on the left, that orange one, that's what lifeguards use, and it's unbelievably loud. If you were to use that, the entire neighborhood would be like, what the heck is that?
Some neighbors are saying way too loud.
That's only in the morning. You supposed to be up cooking breakfast or something by then, so that's like an alarm clock. Woo woo!
My next tip is to not draw unnecessary attention to yourself. This means avoid wearing expensive jewelry, having luxury items, flashing cash, and even in some cases, pulling out your big camera. And I get it. You're going to want to take pictures of your trip, but just keep in mind that sometimes the camera can be a liability. One time I was in Malaysia and a friend pulled out her camera and she was kind of close to a road. Well, a guy on a motorcycle drove up, grabbed the camera, and drove off. Just keep that in mind. This brings me to my next point, to blend in and don't look like a tourist. If you need to figure out where you need to go and you have a map, maybe a paper map or more than likely on your phone, go ahead and step around a corner or step into a coffee shop and do this discreetly. You don't want people to know that you're lost. Always be aware of your surroundings. And to do this, I would recommend that you put your headphones away, put your phone away, look up, and just be present. Always secure your belongings, especially in crowded areas that are prone to pickpocketing. Speaking of pickpocketing, you always need to split up your cash and your credit cards. For the cash and credit cards that you'll have on you, I like keeping them in a small minimalistic wallet and I'll put it in my front pocket. It lays nice and flat and it would be very difficult for someone to reach in and grab. I like to keep my other cards in something called a Faraday bag. I also put my passport in this. It has a signal blocking pocket that will prevent RFID scanners if someone's trying to skim your information. Keep your valuables out of sight at the hotel or Airbnb or wherever you're staying. You can use things like the hotel safe, or like me, I usually just hide my valuables in my dirty laundry bag. Always carry small amounts of cash and go to the ATM when you need more. When you do go to an ATM, avoid using the ones that are in touristy areas. These ones can often have bad conversion rates. Always give the ATM a little jiggle right where you put your card in, just to make sure there's not something attached to it. Typically, I like going to banks. I recommend using a debit card that will reimburse your ATM fees worldwide. And there are a number of different cards that do this. I personally use the Charles Schwab debit card, And I made a whole video about this if you want to learn more about it. Consider setting up Apple Pay if you have an iPhone. If your card were to get stolen or if it had fraudulent charges and you needed a new card, you can actually set that up through your app, say the Chase app, and you could upload that new card to Apple Pay, and you could use that card on Apple Pay to pay for things without actually having the new physical card. And this can be especially advantageous if you're off in some remote corner of the world, so you don't have to wait for that physical card to get to you. You could consider having a cheap decoy wallet. So of course, you'll always have your main wallet with you, but you could also carry a fake wallet that'll have a little bit of cash in it. And if anyone were to ever rob you, say at gunpoint or knife point, you could just give them the decoy wallet. And did I mention to keep your stuff in your front pocket? Because anything in the back pocket is fair game for a thief. Choose your clothes wisely and think function over fashion. Are you wearing clothing and shoes right now that you could run in? What would happen if a zombie outbreak happened right now at this very moment? Could you run away? Keep that in mind when you're choosing your clothes on your next trip. You can always hide your valuables in a secret stash. I really like this one on the left. It might work better for the ladies, but it's a scrunchie that's functional that you can use for your hair, but it also has a secret zipper that you can hide stuff in, like cash, keys, etc. And my favorite is to use an old chapstick tube. You can take out the little plastic piece in the middle, roll up some money, and put it in there. Just be sure not to lose it. You can also hide valuables in something called a runner's belt. Personally, I like one called the flip belt, and I like the one that has a zipper. And in this, you can store a ton of different things. You can put your keys, your ID, your passport, your phone, and no one would ever know that you're wearing it. I like using the black one because it's really discreet and it's hard to see. But you might want to get a bright one in case you like going out running at night and you want to be visible for cars. If you carry a bag, make sure that it's secured on your body. Have a crossbody strap and not dangling on your shoulder. You can secure your bag's zippers a number of different ways. One effective way is to use these little S-beaners, and it even has an extra little security mechanism to make it even harder to open. And a simple alternative is to use a key ring. When you're not wearing your bag, make sure that it's secure. Don't just hang it on the back of your chair if you're sitting down at a restaurant or something. Have it underneath you, and you can actually loop the chair leg through one of the arm straps, which would make it very hard for someone to just grab and run away with. I would recommend using TSA-approved small locks so that you can take them on the plane with you. And I like the ones that have the flexible band because you can use this at gym lockers. You can put it through your zipper. But I also like using this expandable security cord for your bag. You can loop that around fixed objects like benches or trees or whatever. And I actually did this when I was in Hawaii. I rented a scooter and I saw they had one of these straps. And that's where I got the idea of, oh, I could use this to strap my bag to a bench. So when I go into the ocean and go snorkeling, it gave me a little bit more peace of mind. My next tip is to consider using Apple AirTags. And these are pretty amazing. You can put one of them in each of your bags. And then if your bag ever gets lost or stolen, you can track it down very easily. And of course, there's the free method of just writing your name and information on a piece of paper. And if your bag is lost, someone might reach back out to you. Always let people know where you're going, whether it's family or friends or whatever. You can call them, text them, and on your smartphone, you can share your location. Always be sure to write down your Airbnb or hotel address. You can take a screenshot on your phone, but you can also take a business card. And this can be helpful, especially if you need to show an Uber driver or a taxi where exactly you need to go. Speaking of taxis or Ubers, whenever you're getting into an Uber, you can pretend that you're on the phone and you can say, oh, my ride's here. I'll call you when I'm there. Okay, I love you. Bye. And this is a good thing to do just so the driver will know that, hey, someone is expecting this person to be somewhere at a certain time and they might not get up to something nefarious if they were thinking about it. Always check to see if you're being followed. Just keep your head on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings. And if you do feel like you have someone that's creeping behind you, step into a business like a coffee shop or a cafe or whatever. There's always safety in numbers. So stay in populated areas, get a travel buddy and watch your buddy's back. If you don't have anyone to travel with, you can find friends on group tours. Like if you go through TripAdvisor, I like doing that sometimes, or go on a free walking tour if you don't want to spend any money. You can also make new friends. You can find groups on social media or go to gyms like CrossFit. That's a great way to meet people. Be aware of overly flirtatious strangers. If someone's coming up and they seem like they're really into you and they're touching you, Maybe it's love at first sight. Or maybe they're slipping your phone and your wallet out of your pocket. Be cautious of receiving any gifts from strangers. I'll give an example of when I was in Paris at the Sacred Heart Cathedral. I saw a bunch of guys walking around with bracelets, and they would put the bracelet onto a tourist's arm and say, "Oh, it's a gift, it's a gift." And then the person would say, okay. And then when they would start to walk away, the guy would say, "Oh, but a donation, I need a donation." And so basically the tourists would just be like flustered and not know what to do. They'd pull out their wallet and they might have like a 20 euro and they'd pull it out and the guy would just grab it. And it was such a scam, dude. It made me so mad watching this. But just keep in mind, if someone's giving you something, it might be a scam. If you're ever watching a street performer and there's a crowd forming around them, just be aware that that's prime grounds for pickpocketers. Always have copies of your important documents and store the phone numbers that you might need. You can print out the copies and keep them hidden. And if you don't want to keep physical copies, you can always store them in the cloud and then go to a print shop and print them out for really cheap. Consider using a VPN. There's a bunch of different options out there. You can do your own research on this. You're going to want to know how to use your phone in another country, especially if there's an emergency. And if there is an emergency, you need to look up what's the emergency number for that country that you're in, because it's not always 911. I've made a couple different videos. One of them lists 4 different ways on how you can use your cell phone internationally. And another one is a download guide on Airlo eSIMs. I actually recommend Airlo. I'll link those down below if you're interested in learning more. You know, when we're looking at safety, the best investment that you can make is an investment in yourself. And my last tip is to develop self-defense skills. I would recommend that you look up a class somewhere near you. You can look up a self-defense class or a Krav Maga class. Krav Maga is just a type of self-defense. And ultimately, when you do this, it'll build your confidence and you won't need to even carry a weapon because you will be the weapon. You won't need a gun or a knife or a flashlight or a whistle. Sorry, Bub Rub.
Woo woo!
But my challenge for you is to sign up for a class by the end of this year. And I want to share my experience doing this. When I was in Los Angeles, I just Googled self-defense in Google Maps, and I found one called Burbank Krav Maga. I went to their website and I saw that they offer a free trial class. So I went and I checked it out, and I actually really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I learned how to throw some punches better, how to kick, how to do the groin kick.
Woo woo!
And it was amazing. I would highly recommend everyone do this. I've recommended for all my family to do something similar. You just have to Google self-defense near me, and you might even be able to find some free options. So there you go. Those are my 35 tips for you to stay safe on your next trip. So stay vigilant and have fun traveling. Let me know down in the comments if you end up signing for a self-defense or Krav Maga class. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.